Let's get to the trade.
All
Let's
right,
get to the big news before we get to Tehran.
Let's do it.
Steelers are trading their wide receiver, George Pickens. He's going to the Dallas Cowboys now. So the Cowboys have now put out a trade alert. So this is official. Cowboys reporting it as well. They say, we have agreed to terms to acquire George Pickens and a 2027 sixth-round pick from the Steelers in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. So if you want to adjust your draft boards accordingly, there you go. Now you got all the information. But your first reaction when you heard George Pickens is going to the Cowboys.
I think there was like two wows, right? And this is one of those where, like, literally I'm driving to work in the morning and it happens. And it's like I'm stopped at a stoplight. I hear my phone beep. I'm like, oh gosh, George Pickens. So you're like trying to wrap your head around it. I'm going, I'm on live TV in like 30 minutes here. And this is like, let me wrap my head around this, right? So I think the first thing that popped into my head was one, I'm surprised Pittsburgh didn't do this before the draft, maybe to get draft picks, right? To go, wait, we got Aaron Rodgers. We feel like we're going for it this year. Let's get another pick and let's help out the team right now, right? So I think that kind of went to my mind right away. And then the other part of it was just like, wow, so they are going to trade him, right? Like Florio had said from the beginning when they got DK Metcalf, I think this is the end of George Pickens. In full transparency, I was like, well, I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers comes, he might be like, let's just try to ride this out 1 year, right? Let's try to massage this Pickens things to where, you know, we get one more year out of him, just like we've seen maybe the Vikings do with Justin Jefferson or the Bengals do with Jamar Chase, and like kind of go, hey, we're not going to give you that big contract. We want to see one more year here, right? So I thought maybe they would try to kick the can down the road a little bit, but obviously no. They wanted nothing to do with it. They got out of this. They obviously felt like George Pickens, yeah, we know he's a good player, but he's been a problem there. He's been hard to deal with, and I think they just finally got to a point where they went, hey, let's get something for him. Let's get some picks, whatever else, and not have to deal with the headache of where he's not getting the ball enough in a contract year. It might distract our team, all of that. So, like, surprised a little bit, but not shocked. But an awesome trade to give us some news here on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, you almost wonder if they got indications that he was going to be a problem in camp.
He never asked for a trade, right?
Yeah.
But he did, by all accounts, kind of say things where you go, okay, he's not happy with the football team. Mm-hmm. And you felt like Mike Tomlin, who's a master at dealing with personalities on that Pittsburgh football team, you felt like this was one where I don't think he's got total control of this guy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he was always having to make comments. He's got to grow up sooner rather than later, blah, blah, blah. There was always stuff like that. Pickens was always kind of needling the organization, whether it's being late or, you know, saying things at the end of the year press conference about the status of the offense and the team and all that. So he has not exactly been a good Samaritan as far as to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And right. I think, yeah, you're right. They just looked at it like it was too much of a headache to deal with.
So now, if you're looking at this from the Aaron Rodgers perspective, I guess you could look at it a couple ways, because you got DK Metcalf there, and I think we have some photos and video of them working out together in March with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. You have Calvin Austin. You have Roman Wilson from Michigan, who they got last year, who you like a whole bunch.
I did like a whole bunch.
But I would think maybe that Aaron Rodgers would not like this. That's one fewer weapon that he has there as a wide receiver.
That's where I was there too, right. I thought they were going to use Rodgers to kind of go, hey, Pickens, it's okay. Hey, well, contract, we'll figure it out. But we got Aaron Rodgers. We're going to be good. Just kind of hang in there, right?
Yes.
But they obviously felt like, no, Rodgers, he's here. DK Metcalf might get the majority of the footballs, and they're just not going to be able to control George Pickens, and I think that was their logic at the end of the day.
JG of Auburn tweeted at us and said the other side of it, maybe Rodgers was getting closer to Pitt, and the final move was to unload Pickens. A-Rod said no-go with the malcontent Pickens. He goes, there's only going to be one malcontent here, and that's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to let anyone else do that.
Yeah,
that's my gig.
I mean, all signs point towards Rodgers going there.
Yeah.
Right? If Rodgers and them, this is, again, where I would go surprised. If you wanted to help Rodgers out and do all this, why not trade him before the draft and get this third-round pick right now, where we know there was really good third-round receivers to be had that could help your football team out. Now, what I will say with Pittsburgh, the questions you bring up, I think, are very real. Those are probably the second things that went to my head. Well, okay, damn, we could have had something. DK Metcalf and George Pickens on the outside. Now you think about Pittsburgh and you go, okay, there's some good there. Don't get me wrong. The O-line's certainly gone in the right direction the last few years. They get a Caleb Johnson in the draft out of Iowa, who we know, and we saw a lot of Big Ten football. He can rip off some big plays and be explosive. Pat Freiermuth is a good damn tight end. So Aaron Rodgers is going to like that. But as far as the rest of the receiving core goes, I think what you're alluding to here is, there's not a lot of proven commodities here. right? There is Robert Woods, who at this point is older, a career journeyman, and been injured a little bit. Calvin Austin's kind of a weapon. I like him, but is he a dependable? We can throw him the ball 5 to 8 times a game, every game. I don't know how they feel about that. But where I will say is I do trust Pittsburgh's evaluation of receivers. It is one area where they've been stellar for about 15 years now, if not more. And I would got to think that, yeah, there's somebody like the name you brought up, a Roman Wilson, where they're going, no, we think he makes his name for himself this year. He's going to be a part of the offense. He's going to do something. I'm hoping that's the case. Or do we get into dusting off a free agent? Do we get into we'll get Keenan Allen for the right price and Amari Cooper? Does Alan Lazard for the Jets, and the Jets go, hey, your old, you can have your old buddy, right? Blah, blah, blah. They reorganized his contract a little bit. Those would be the things that pop to my brain a little bit to maybe where they add some help to that room.
Well, maybe that is interesting because that is one of the things that Aaron Rodgers did. It's like, hey, let me bring some of my friends over here, make me feel comfortable.
Yes.
And we see how well that went with the New York Jets.
You're funny. You're funny.
To recreate that. All right, DraftKings gave us the Cowboys and the Steelers futures here. So this is updated now, Pete. This is to the second, or is this? Did it change at all? Probably not, right? With George Pickens, wouldn't imagine that. But here's the win totals for the Cowboys: 7.5 is the over/under. Steelers is 8.5. So both teams are not favored to make the playoffs, even less likely to win their division. So these two teams are like equal almost.
And we'll hit on the Cowboys angle of this here in a second, right? Right, the Steelers, I think you look at them and you go, hey, they've made some adjustments to their team. I do expect them to be better, and especially if they have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, quarterback play has been below average for the Pittsburgh Steelers the last few years. We know their defense will be a pain in the ass, right? They're going to be good. They're going to be one of the better defenses in football. So I certainly think they're going to have a say here and the big picture of things in the AFC North with an Aaron Rodgers at the helm. So I like that. The Cowboys, on the other hand, and just going off of that, right? And last thing with the Pittsburgh is, I would think they're going to try to add one more proven commodity to that wide receiver room. Not maybe it's somebody else we didn't even mention, but somebody else where they just go, hey, he could play, he's smart, he'll understand Rodgers, all the signals, things he wants to do at the line of scrimmage. Rodgers will be able to trust him, and that's why I brought up like a Keenan Allen, because I feel like he fits that kind of mold. Work the slot. Rodgers gives you the signal, okay, I got it. I'll run the route perfectly. Oh, it's a zone. I know exactly how to sit down and be quarterback friendly, right? So I expect something to be done there. Now, we get back to what we just saw with DraftKings and the Cowboys. 7.5. Cowboys will be one of those teams where I think people are underestimating a little. I will say that. I said this today on the show with Florio when I was talking about it a little bit, and I know they're not one of the top teams in football to where we go, oh, I think they're going to the NFC Championship or anything like that. But for to sit here and just go, oh, they're not going to go to the playoffs or anything like that, I'm not willing to bet money on that. In fact, if I had extra money and you had extra money laying around, I'd go, Cowboys are one of the teams that everybody is putting outside the playoffs right now that I would put in, right, and take a shot. Maybe you make some extra money, right? So, plus 210 is what it is right here by DraftKings. Now, you get into the Cowboys, you go, hey, their offensive line, they've improved it, right? I mean, they got 2 first-rounders on the left side, and Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton. They got a center that they obviously like in Cooper Beebe, who they drafted 2 years ago. Yep. Tyler Booker, first-rounder this year.
Dang, they have 3 Tylers on their offensive line.
It's pretty impressive.
That's an underreported fact.
And you're right. Well, one of them's, 3 Tylers, and they're all first-rounders. So they've improved the offensive line. They're going to be there. They have a pretty good tight end. Now you get into what we're seeing, I think, is becoming a fad in the NFL. We used to be, you don't need a great receiver to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. We've hit the era of you need more than one great receiver to win the Super Bowl now. That's what we've hit. We've hit the era of teams are starting to go, hey, we run the ball, hey, and we're going to get 2 receivers. So the hell with it. You see the 49ers who went to multiple Super Bowls, 2 receivers. You watch the Eagles, right, 2 receivers, right? The Dolphins, they've been one of the better offenses in football, 2 receivers. We've seen the Ravens go into the receiver, 2 first-rounders, and Bateman and Zay Flowers because we got to get some guys here, right? We're big, we run the ball, all of that. The Bengals went to the Super Bowl, 2 receivers. The Rams went to the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., 2 receivers, right? So I think there's a thing there. The Bucs won the Super Bowl. Who were they? Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Oh, and Antonio Brown and Gronk, okay? So I think you're seeing that. I think Dallas is realizing that. They shored up their offensive line. Their quarterback is good, right? They need him to play like he's the highest paid player in football, not the 10th best quarterback in the game, right? That doesn't make sense. So that helps this out. So my basic point there is there's more talent on that offense than people think. Running back position is not wowing, but there's a lot of solid there. Defense, if you look at the Cowboys' defense, there's stuff to like here. Their D-line has got talent and a little depth. Dante Fowler Jr., Mozzie Smith seemed like he went in the right direction last year. Oza Odigizua, they just paid him big money. He's one of the better disruptive tackles in football. Of course, we got Micah Parsons. We got Donovan Izarico, who we just drafted out of Boston College in the second round, who we think could be a superstar. Not Marshawn Nealon, a backup DN who's a damn good player. The linebacking position's pretty good, especially if DeMarvion Overshawn gets healthy. And then their secondary, their corners, are pretty damn good. So what I'm saying is, Dallas, this was a big-time move that I think does catapult them, I'm not going to say to definite playoff, but more of a pain in the ass and more of a player in the NFC than I think people are giving them credit for.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
If George Pickens is not what the Steelers thought George Pickens was that made them want to trade him.
Now,
right?
So yes, you're exactly right. Yeah. So there's the other part of this. They're taking a risk here. Right, and the other thing that went through my mind when the trade happened, I wonder what they're going to get the Steelers, right? This is George Pickens. This is the prime of his career. Yeah. He's going into the 4th year of his contract. He's making peanuts as far as big-time superstar receivers. Now, I know future contract takes away from the trade value, but to just trade away a 3rd-round pick for a guy that's in the prime of his career, where I think a lot of people in football would go, I see superstar potential out of George Pickens, I was a little surprised by that. But I think in that, too, it tells me that the Steelers they didn't want him. They were exhausted by it. They had let it be known through the NFL circles that they wanted rid of him, so that hurt their value, too. So they do that. But your point about Pickens there, and now, wait, we already got a Micah Parsons distraction on the contract. You're trading for George Pickens, who's going to want a contract. You better not give him the contract before you give it to Micah Parsons. That will be messed up. I'll be here to say that, and I'm sure Micah Parsons would think that's messed up. But, okay, you don't give him the contract. And we've seen this is an offense that feeds CeeDee Lamb at exhausting amounts. We get to week 4. They're 1-2 or 1-3, and he's only got a handful of catches. What do you think's going to happen there in Dallas? Do you think he's going to be the perfect Boy Scout in the world and just go, oh, yeah, everything's great? No, I would start to think he's bothered. It's a contract year. His stats are going to matter. He wants to be able to get as much money as possible. So that's the risk that you're alluding to there that Dallas will definitely have to feel the burden of here if they don't get a contract done with Pickens before the year, or at least massage this the right way to keep him, what do I want to say? Just at ease that, hey, you're going to get the contract as long as you play good and do the right things. And we're just getting to know you and the player, and we want to see your practice habits and all that. If they can just sell that to him and to buy in, then hopefully good things can happen for the Cowboys.
They got to hope it works because they've given up a lot of resources for their wide receivers here. A lot of money for CeeDee Lamb, trade capital for George Pickens, trade capital for Jonathan Mingo before then.
That's right.
So this should be a strength of your team, and if it's not, that will be a problem for them.
I would agree with that too. They have some things that you like there, and they got some weapons to play with in the back end. Now, let's see what Jonathan Mingo can bring to the table, right? Can a Jalen Tolbert continue to ascend in the right direction as a 3rd-round pick from 3 or 4 years ago, right? So they're going to need some of them, let alone, hopefully a Javonte Williams or a Jaden Blue or somebody like that can really help out at the running back position. But big-time move by the Cowboys, certainly. Catapults them at least into a different level or stratosphere as a football team, makes them more dangerous. They're making the proper adjustments here, but like you said, the risk of the player, the contract, and what could blow up in your face, along with the fact of Micah Parsons' contract, and if you continue to drag your feet like they always do, that's all we're going to be talking about in training camp. And maybe that's what the Cowboys want. I don't know. Maybe that is. But I don't think that's necessarily conducive to great football on the field, so we'll see where it goes from there.
Your friend over at Pro Football Talk is already reporting that Allen Lazard is in play.
There we go.
The Steelers.
Right.
So they're already.
There we go. So you got to think there's somebody there. I would be shocked if Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, the whole group there in Pittsburgh is just going, oh, yeah, we feel great about our whole receiver room. Yeah. Roman Wilson, as much as they even like him, he had an injury last year. He didn't play very much. I don't think they're going to just want to put that burden on him either. either in such a big way right off the bat. So I would think, yes, some sort of veteran to fill in things and just help out the offense altogether. And if they're in talks with Alan Lazard already, I mean, can we just say that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback? Doesn't that just tell you everything?
It's a package deal.
Right.
DraftKings Sportsbook is your home for live betting, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Just download the app and use the promo code UNBUTTONED when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Yo, homies, what's up? Thanks for watching Chris Simms Unbuttoned. And just because the weather's warm doesn't mean football ain't still on our brains right here.
We are still working, so smash that subscribe button. We got all the training camp news, preseason news, everything up until kickoff night.
Thanks for watching. And again, remember to hit that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.